Well, a false accusation of domestic violence is going to be typically honored by the court simply because the court doesn't know yet that the accusation is false. So you can even a false allegation can easily result in a temporary restraining order being issued, and that will have the typical effect of you being excluded from your home for typically up to 3 weeks, and then you having to defend yourself, and you having to hire a lawyer and defend against the allegation. And there's always the chance that the court may believe it. A lot of these people are very, very effective witnesses. You can get a narcissistic person or a borderline person or a high conflict significant other, and they can be very effective, credible witnesses. Sometimes people even go to this extent of physically bruising themselves or putting marks on their own body through some type of physical trauma, where then they show the pictures and blame it on the other spouse. So if you have a high conflict, crazy type of significant other, you could easily be the victim of a false allegation. And courts a lot of times believe it. They believe these allegations. So super important to get a handle on your life and get away from a person if there's any hint that something like this is going to be, some type of allegation like this is going to be made. Well, one thing that's really important about a domestic violence case is it's one thing to have a temporary restraining order issued against you. And that's typically what happens at the very beginning of a domestic violence case. You'll often get a telephone call before 10 o'clock in the morning saying you need to be in court by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon to defend yourself against a request for a domestic violence restraining order. And you're rushed and you got to go to court right then. You're going to try and write something up. Maybe you can find an attorney to come to court with you that quickly, but you're going to have to go fight this. And it's going to be difficult. If you get a domestic violence restraining order against you, a temporary restraining order, that's one thing. And that will expire in 21 days. My recommendation is not to allow that to go beyond 21 days, but that will last 21 days, then it automatically expires. Then the other side has to prove at a hearing that they've got to prove their case up. If at the hearing stage you get a domestic violence restraining order issued against you, which can go for a period of 1 to 5 years, if you get that, that's going to be real problematic for you, because that type of thing, a finding of domestic violence against you, that restraining order is going to result in a public record. You could be looking for a job, and they'll do a background check on you and find that a court determined that you were violent with your significant other. That's very problematic, and it's not easy to clear your name. It can be permanently damaging. In some cases, in fact, the restraining order can be extended for a period of time where hopefully the case will just go away with some type of resolution, because you do not want this person you claim committed domestic violence against you to be in a situation when they lose their job, they can't get a job, they lose their law license, or they lose their employment, they lose their other professional licenses. It can have significant effect on your life. There are significant harms that can come to you from a domestic violence finding against you. It's important that you have evidence, but a lot of times the evidence is going to be just the statements of the other side and pictures of the victim. Okay, and a lot of people are legitimate victims, but there's going to be a statement of the victim. There may be photographs. There may be witnesses. Sometimes the children are witnesses. There's a lot of evidence you can use to prove your domestic violence case. And remember, it only has to be just above 50% probability that it happened. Sometimes the court will issue that restraining order even if the evidence is not that strong, just thinking he or she is doing the right thing and separating the parties and keeping the peace. If you've been falsely accused of domestic violence or accused at all, contact the Bledsoe Firm. We can help.